G'day everyone and welcome back to our Sketchup for Schools tutorial series. This one is going to be another exercise from that Sketchup exercises book that I was talking about in the previous video. In this one we are going to have a go at exercise 2, which is just another device that has some holes in it and a couple of other little features that make things a little bit harder when you're drawing in 3 dimensions. It's a little bit trickier than the previous one, but it's still not a very difficult drawing to do. This one we are going to start with a rectangle of 120 millimeters by 100 millimeters. So we'll start there with our rectangle tool. Now I'm just going to start at the middle because that's just the easiest way to do it. And type in my dimensions of 120 and 100, which you can see down in that bottom corner. Alright, so they're down here in this little bottom corner. And you can see because we're in millimeters, we're a bit far away, so we do need to zoom in. So just using your scroll wheel and making sure that you're aiming your cursor at the right spot. So here we go, we've got our base rectangle for our drawing. The thickness of our device today is actually going to be 20 millimeters today, so we're going to pull this up 20 mil, and that gives us a good foundation to start from. Now, reason why I'm doing the push pulling before I add any of the other details is because if I do the details first, it will often create an empty or hollow shape that is really hard to work with later. If we start with a solid shape, we can make it empty later, but we do need to make sure that we've got all our features in the right spot first. So we're going to deal with the base part of our shape. The base part is the bit that is 100 by 120. So let's have a look at what we need to do. Now I need to create a guideline because I'm going to have a bit that is going to come up off this edge. So I'm going to measure that in, and it's going to be 20 millimeters in from the edge. So I go 20, and then I go up to the other edge, and just to make sure, I can do this without putting in the second guide, but it is easier if you have that second guide in there to make sure you're going to the right spot. Grab my pencil, hit the guide point, go to the other guide point, and we've got this bit here. Now this bit here will get raised another 30 mil, so the actual height of our device here is going to be 50 in total. But I only need to raise this bit 30 because I've already gone 20 up, so I need to go up this one 30. Okay, and I can get rid of that guideline and go around to the other side and get rid of the guideline as well. Okay, now we want to do a long rounded off edge hole in each of these faces. Now that is going to have a radius of 30 on these big edges. So the easiest way to do that is to get your measuring tape, go 30, and then do that the other way as well. And I'm going to do that on the other edge. So there we have those guidelines, and then I'm going to go to my arc tool. So my arc tool that I'm going to use is this one here. Is this the 2-point arc? And I'm going to go from guide point to guide point. And then I'm going to drag it up until it says on edge. And then that's going to create an arc that I'm going to replicate on the other side so that they are the same. Guide point to guide point on the edge, and now I have two that are the same because I've used my guide points. Something that's really good about those guide points too is because they are going to form the center of the hole. Okay, because this is going to have a hole in it, so it's going to be the center of the hole. Then I can use my tape measure again, because these I'm going to have radius of 30 as I said before. So I come down in here and I go down 30, this way 30. And that is going to give me a guide for some other holes that I'm going to be putting in shortly. I'll put in some perpendicular guidelines now, so I'm going to go to my Protractor Tool and make them perpendicular and do the same thing up there, because that's going to give me some other guide points. Alrighty, let's do these circles now. So the inside circle of this hole is a radius of 15, so I need to go to that guide point and go 15. Go to the next guide point and I'll go 15 again. Alright, so I've got the two end circles and I'll join them up. Now I'm also going to put that line across there, because that is going to separate the two halves of my circles to make it easier when I need to get rid of guidelines, so I can actually do the push-pull part of the job. So now I can get rid of some lines. I can get rid of those ones, and you can see there that I'm going to be able to create an elongated hole in the middle of my shape. Now if you remember back to some other videos, we use our push-pull tool for this. I'm going to push that down onto the edge. Now it doesn't have to be an edge on the shape itself, it can actually be the edge of where you're push-pulling, as long as it says endpoint, and it will get rid of that for you. So same over here, as long as it says on edge or endpoint, you are good to go. So now I've gotten rid of those bits, and you can see my shape is starting to, well, take shape. Get rid of the guides, don't need them anymore, and now we can focus on the vertical part, which is going to have the same effect, just smaller circles and smaller radiuses. Alright, still need our measuring tape though, so we can put in all our guide points. This one, the circle is going to come out 20, so the radius of the big circle is going to be 20 on this one. Just make sure you're being careful when you're entering those distances, that you don't move the mouse again, because that will just delete what you're entering. Alright, put in that guideline across the middle. And then we can put in our arcs. So same as we did for the other one. So you want that red on edge. And go in, head in 20. Use my trusty protractor. And you can see there it is using a different axis now to guide it. Alright. Now we can chuck in some small circles. The small ones have a radius of 6 because they don't need to be very big. Draw across the guides and draw across the shape. Alright, now we can get rid of those guidelines. And we can do our push-pull job. And we can do exactly the same thing that we did before. And that's how we do it. Get rid of those guides because we don't need them anymore. And that should also be fairly metallic. And that's our shape. Hopefully this has been a slightly informative video helping you to develop your SketchUp for Schools skills. If there's a particular type of shape or exercise you would like to see in these videos, please let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.